This classic Man United shirt is really not in very good condition. Not only has it got a DTF name set in a font that should really be flocked, but that DTF is really badly damaged. And if you look at the number 6, there's loads of residue that needs to be removed. And to top it all off, that Vodafone sponsor is covered in lint and needs a good cleanup. By the end of this video, you won't believe that this is the same shirt. So let me show you how I'm going to bring this shirt back from the dead, and I'll even tell you why this for me is the worst Man United shirt ever. Hello there. This is the 2002-2005 Man United home shirt from a bygone era. This shirt reminds me of back when there was real bad blood between my team, Arsenal, and Manchester United. It's from the season after when Arsenal had that Invincibles run where they hadn't been beaten all season, and going into that season I was so excited about what Arsenal were going to do that season. But actually what happened was we lost in the semi-final of the FA Cup to Man United, Roy Carroll becoming the best keeper in the world for one game only. We absolutely demolished Man United that game, apart from in scoring stage where Paul Scholes scored a fantastic goal. They didn't wear this shirt, but this shirt reminds me of times like that where I had such an expectation for Arsenal. So because of those bad memories that I had, this goes down as one of my least favourite Man United shirts. Not because of the shirt, it's an actual classic. It reminds me of people I really didn't like. Ruud van Nistelrooy, only his mum liked him. He was not a nice piece of work. Roy Keane, I mean, what a legend, but you kind of want him on your team, not playing against you. So that's why this is my worst Man United shirt. But even though there is this bad feeling about this shirt, from my perspective, I recognise it needs fixing up. I mean, if you look at the name set there, it's in DTF. That season, they were flock, Lextra flock. So that would need to come off anyway. But if you look as well, someone's tried taking it off. Maybe they've used the wrong solvent, but that needs to come off and be replaced with something proper. And in addition to that, we've got all this residue. Now, removal of residue from football shirts is probably the most common request that we get over at We Fix Kits. So we're going to be showing you how we're going to be taking this off. We're going to be taking off this residue. We're going to put a nice shiny new name set on, and all will be revealed at the end. So make sure you stick to the end. Cool. So here we are over at the bench. What we're going to need is some kitchen roll, light box and Pyrex, DTF remover, cloth, microfiber cloth, some cotton pads, something to put the rubbish in, and one of our scrapers. And if you're after one of these scrapers, you can get one, a link to them, up there. So what we're going to do, if we look at the shirt first, you can see that this silver backing here, that you can almost see a slight silver backing behind the white, is what says to me that this is DTF. One of the most common questions I get, other than how do you remove residue, and we'll cover that later in the video, but is how to tell whether it's vinyl or DTF. Now if you look at this, it'd be very difficult to tell just from looking at the R whether or not it's vinyl or DTF. However, if you look at the F, you can see this kind of silvery colour behind the white, and that is the adhesive on the DTF that is used to block out the ink or the material of the football shirt. So that's why I'm going to be using DTF remover to remove this. If in fact it's vinyl, then you're going to need VLR, and there's a link up here how to remove vinyl name sets. But today is DTF, so let's focus on that. So let's turn on the light box, and we're going to turn the shirt inside out and lay it over the light box, and we're just going to apply a bit of the magic fluid to the back of the letter. But you're going to do one letter first, and you need to leave that to sit for, I don't know, 20 to 30 seconds or so. The longer you leave it, there's a sweet spot between leaving it too long and it evaporating, and not leaving it long enough and having it not do its job properly. But so it all depends on the time of the year, the humidity, the temperature of the room. But I'm just going to leave that for probably 30 seconds or so. But I'm going to give the material a little bit of a pour around. Now this knife material, it has a certain direction where you'll get a little bit more give. So you can see now that this is really just starting to come away nicely. So we're going to keep tugging away. You can see that even the R next to it is coming away. But really, even with the scraper, which is fantastic for this job, you're not going to need to do much other than just scrape things or just kind of lightly remove the DTF off of the material. So now you're going to lay it over the board. There we go. We're just going to use our scraper and it should come off nice and easily. There you go. Use the kitchen roll. Try and minimise the mess. Going to scoop it up into there, get rid of the debris. Give it a little shake, get the stuff off. And now what you're left with is this residue. Now you can see still that there's a little bit of colour to it. Shows there's some white there and it's a little bit of black. So we're going to do the process again, applying it to the back to make sure we get all of that off before we then start applying solvent to the front. So we're going to give it a little tug around. Like I say, there's an angle to this where it's best where there's enough give in the material that it really kind of starts loosening the name set. If you do it this way, you'll see that there's not that much give. If you do it diagonally, you can see there's a fair amount of give there. Now it's laid back over the board. There you go. And then we're just going to use our scraper just to scrape up the bits where there's a little bit of colour, so that all we're left with at the end is the residue. There we go. So here is the letter off. We're now left with the residue. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go round and remove the rest of the letters before we come back and do the residue. When you hear me talking about letting the solvent do the job and just using the scraper to lightly remove the nut vinyl or the DTF from the shirt, this is exactly what I mean. If you get it just right, leave the solvent on there just long enough to eat the adhesive, but not long enough that it evaporates. All you need is one fell swoop and the vinyl's off. So as you can see, the top layer of DTF, the paint layer, has come off, and now what we're left with is the adhesive, which is what the number was originally like, just with the adhesive there. And now we've got just the adhesive from the letters. So now what we need to do is get that off. So we've got the shirt laid out nicely on the board. You can apply the solvent to the back of the adhesive from the inside of the shirt, but I find, certainly with DTF, if you've got all the colour off, so like you can see here, the colour's gone, it's just the adhesive left, you're fine just applying it straight to the front of the adhesive and letting the solvent do its job, eating through it. So if we just line up the first one, let's start on the F and the E. We're just going to get a DTF remover. Link to this is in the description. And we're just going to apply a bit on there to the E and the F. Now always remember to use a well ventilated room, ideally a face mask, just to kind of, this stuff can be a little bit noxious, so just be aware of that. You leave it on there for, what have I done? It's that 10-15 seconds, and now we're just going to start using the scraper. Now with this particular shirt, there's a grain to the material. The grain goes diagonally this way. So what I recommend is when you have a shirt that has grain, you scrape in line with the grain rather than across the grain. If you go across the grain, you'll more likely damage the material. Now, if the adhesive is really, really stubborn, then going across the grain is kind of what you might have to do. But for this one, we're going to go in line with the grain with the scraper, and we're just going to take it all off. You can see big thick layer of adhesive there. So let's just go do the E. Now this is going to spread it a little bit, which is where the cotton pads come in, because you're going to need to mop up the excess bits around the edges of where you've been scraping so that it doesn't dry into the shirt. But if we just get this off, and be careful with these scrapers. If you use one of our scrapers, just be careful, because the edges are really quite sharp, and they're sharp for a reason, because you want them to be able to get into the nooks and the crannies of the material, but just be careful not to cut yourself. So now we've get a cotton pad, and we're just going to mop up where, as you've scraped the adhesive, it may have remained on the shirt. Once we've mopped up that's the priority for the first bit of mopping, is making sure you get rid of the extra bits that have gone around the letters. And now you can use your cotton pad in line with the grain just to rub away what is left of the adhesive. Now what you might have to do is you might have to do a few rounds of this. I can see from this one that most of it is coming off, but you'll need to be done again to get the majority of it off. So I'm going to do that and do another round, and then I'll be back, and I've got some extra tips here coming up, so make sure you stick with us. If you're enjoying this video, please remember to click like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any of our future ones. So here we go. The E and the F are pretty much, well, they're gone. Now, what I would say as a tip here is that one mistake I see people make is they see that there is still some visible kind of lines, and they keep using the solvent, keep repeating it and repeating it, and it ends up damaging the shirt. What I would say is, if you can't feel any adhesive, if it feels no different to the shirt, then the adhesive is almost certainly gone. So if you carry on using the solvent and trying to get that off, it's futile. You'll never be able to do it. What will likely happen, what this probably would be, is some sort of discoloration from the age of the shirt and the fact that there's been a name set on there. So what you'll find is that when you press a new one on, these marks will almost certainly dissipate or become invisible totally. So that's now sorted. I'm going to go through and do the rest, get it all off. Then we're going to address the solvent marks, give it a wash, and show you what it looks like at the end. So stick with us. So here we go. Letters are all off, all the adhesive pretty much off. Some nasty stains around the outside. We'll sort them in a minute. And now we're going to move to the number. Now you can see the number is pretty much just adhesive. So what we're going to do is follow the same process we followed for the letters to get the number. adhesive off. And what I'd say here is the only difference is you kind of just do little sections. Do sections, scrape in line with the material, but rather than just making it all sodden with solvent, just do small sections, work through it, and then you'll be left with no residue. So I'm going to get rid of all this and I'll be back. So here we go, number 6, totally off, letters off. What I've been left with these nasty residue marks that are caused by the solvent, and this is grease and grime that has been kind of built into the name set and the material over the years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the old trusty spot solve and some cotton pads. I've done a video on how I use this, and I'll put that video right up there, because spot solve is fantastic for getting rid of these stains. Now, it's only available in some parts of the EU and in the UK, but if you need something similar, which is a solvent based spot stain remover, there's a video up there where I review 3 internationally available alternatives that are all just as good, and maybe they'll be able to help you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray a bit on like this, and I'm going to use a cotton pad. Once it kind of, you can see there it's started to remove the marks almost straight away. So I'm going to go around, spray this on all the marks, use the cotton pads to mop it up. So there you go, ready for a wash. You can see now all of the marks and the residue is gone. Now we're going to bung it in the wash. Bung it in the wash bag. I use these Guppy Friend wash bags. Chuck it in the wash. So check this out. It's just come out of the washing machine and it is totally clean. There is no residue in sight there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hang it out to dry before we press it. Now here's a little tip for you for drying football shirts. You should always hang tops from the bottom and bottoms from the top. So on the hem of the football shirt, you hang it like that. So this is the bottom, and you put the pegs right on the seams so you don't get those nasty peg marks. So there you go, little tip here, drying your shirts. I'm going to dry this and then I'm going to press on the new name set. Now there's no prizes for guessing here, but see if you can guess who I'm going to press their name on. Let me say to you, he came from Nottingham Forest. He's a tough guy. He's the sort of person you always want on your side, and Arsenal nearly bought him, but instead he went to United. See if you can guess, and I'm going to show you the finished result of this shirt. Yes, you guessed it, Roy Keane. What a fantastic player he was. Tough man, centre of the park, some brilliant battles with him and Patrick Vieira. Someone I always wish Arsenal had bought, but never mind. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press on the Keane. This is the United Cup name set font rather than the Premier League one. I'm not going to go into too much detail of how to do heat pressing. If you want to learn how we do heat pressing, there's a video, link to a video just up there, just to say line in the centre, tape it down. The tape doesn't seem to be taking too well, but that's fine. We're going to put some silicone paper over the top so that it doesn't, that the press doesn't damage the shirt, and then we're going to press it and I'm going to show you the finished result. This shirt is almost finished, almost back to its best. But before I finish, I want to show you one last little tip that I've got. Now, you see this padded flock sponsor. You might not be able to see it, but it's covered in like dust, lint dust from years of kind of getting washed and having fabrics rubbed up against it. So I've done a few videos on how to clean it, but what I'm going to show you now is 2 vital ingredients for being able to get it looking top notch again. The first one is one of these brushes, lint brushes. I'll put a link in the description below, and you'll feel that one side it has a kind of a grain, so you want to feel the brush and feel the coarse direction, then with that coarse direction, you're just gonna go over the flock with it, just rubbing it, and that will gather all of the dust together. And you go through, and you can do that across the whole of the sponsor. I won't do the whole one now, but just to show you, we'll just focus on the Vodafone. So you do that, then once that's done, and you can see that it's all kind of started to gather, you get one of these, which is another lint roller, and you're just gonna give it a good rub, and you will see that all that dust comes off onto the roller. I don't know if you can see, but that is now covered in dust from that, and I've only been doing it for a couple of minutes. So you're going to need to do that until you're happy with the results. Now for this particular one, because it's got a black rim that's a little bit depressed, not sad, although it could be a United fan, so it might be depressed. It's a bit further down, it's deeper down, so you can't get access to it as easy. So you'll need to go over it over and over again with the roller, and you will see that the black will go back to being a nice dark black again, and the white will be a nice bright white. And here we have it, the final shirt. By the way, I was just joking about this being a United fan and being depressed. It's just a joke. I love United. I think they're a fantastic team. They're definitely going to make the Conference League, UEFA Conference League. So fingers crossed for you guys. Anyway, here we go. Here is the finished shirt. Look at that. It looks fantastic. Just as good as the United team were back in 2004. And then even the Vodafone. Look at that. There's no dust on there. Nice and clean. I think it looks fantastic. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you have enjoyed this video, again, I'm just joking about the United fans. I'm an Arsenal fan. You can dig me out as much as you like. If you have liked this video, please remember to click like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon down below. And then you won't miss out on any of our future videos. And we've got a whole load of them coming. Every 2 weeks, we release a new one. And if you've enjoyed this one, you're going to love this one and this one. Thanks a lot.